New lighted decor? Nope, old soul pieces in the making. Stick around to see how I turn thrifted items into aged and primitive with just a few simple steps. Are these sconces. I've done these before and I love to do them in black and then distress back, and it shows the detail really good when you do that. So I went ahead and sanded it because it was very shiny, and then I'm going to spray them black with the same 2-time flat Rust-Oleum spray paint. I've got these both coated with black paint, and now I'm just going to go through and distress the edges and this detailed part in here. These scoops are always super fun to make over. The hardest part is trying to figure out what I want to put inside them. So this one is going to be pretty simple. Going to take out this middle piece where it holds a taper candle because I want it to hold a chunkier candle to put in there. And the biggest part of this is going to be that I'm going to show you how I age up some fabric, and I'm going to put that on the candle and make it look old. But first we need to get this scoop all painted up. So I'm gluing in the handle. I'm going to paint it Dixie Belle chocolate and give it a little distress. And this piece is going to be so primitive cute. Just wait. Now, even though this is really cool, we're gonna jump into working on a candle. This is just a timer, a battery candle, and it's wax. And I'm going to decorate this up to put inside my little scoop. So we're gonna set this aside, and I have this canvas bag that's been kicking around for a little while. So I think that I'm going to, instead of using a great big truck to try and wrap around, because you're not going to be able to see the whole thing and you're not going to know what's going on there, I want to use a small piece. And I really like this back of the truck with the tree sticking out that says Christmas Tree Farm on it. So I think that would make a great front, and that way you'll see the whole thing. We'll have room for movement if we need it. Okay. And I want to make sure it's going to fit all the way around. I just want it to wrap all the way around my candle and just cover the whole thing. So I'm trying to make sure I have enough fabric there to do that with. first I'm going to put it in a coffee mixture to dye it a little bit. I want it to look aged and old. It is already a little bit dark because it's like a canvas material, but I want it darker. I want it more vintage looking, so we're gonna do that first. Now this is my coffee grunge mixture. It's just coffee and water, a little bit of vanilla, and then my spice mix. So I use my cinnamon, allspice, cloves, and I just put it in there, and you can see some of the dark of the spices in there. So it's going to, this whole thing is just gonna get put right into this jar. I purposely use a wide mouth jar so I can just tuck stuff in there. And this is gonna go in there with all of this stuff, and hopefully it's gonna darken up my fabric, and then I'll show you the difference between the two once I do that. I'm gonna let that sit in there for a little while and just let it soak it in, let it get stained up a little bit, and then we'll be right back. My fabric, it's been in there probably, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. And then this is what I, tea stained, and then this is the original fabric. So you can see it's much darker, much more aged, and I love that look. Now it does have my spice mix and stuff on there, and that's okay. I just like kind of take it and rub it in spots. It doesn't always stay, but usually once this fabric is dried, the spices fall off. But I like them to kind of give little stained spots here and there, so I just like rub it in places, and you can see it's a little bit darker, hopefully. So you can take this and put it in a low heat oven, maybe like 170, 175, something like that, just for a few minutes. Keep checking it so it doesn't burn up. You want to be very careful of putting anything flammable into your oven. I also put it out in the sun and let the sun bake it and just kind of get all that in there. But for kind of getting this thing going purposes, I'm going to just take my heat gun and just dry it off that way. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, it's not completely dry, but it's pretty close. And then I just take and kind of brush off some of that grubby mix that I have in there. You can kind of see all the little pieces and stuff, and that's fine. And it still is holding its nice grungy look. I also love these edges. So I'm like, give me some more of that. Give me some more of the kind of frayed edges, and then all these long pieces, you just kind of clip them off so they're like the same length. Now, if you were doing this, you could leave this way. You could leave this just the waxy candle. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to use some grubby mix and grubby that up. And then we'll get this glued on, but I want to grubby this up first, just this top ridge and the inside. So you're going to be, okay, I have a whole playlist on how to grubby candles, wood, glass, all kinds of things. I do big glass jugs and grubby those up and put labels on them. I do jars that are glass. I do wax. I do the plastic faux candles that are battery operated. And I have a whole playlist on YouTube for this. So if you're interested, I will link that down in the description box and you can check it out. I also show how I make my grubby mix, what I use in it. You can use just cinnamon. You can use cinnamon and coffee. You can, whatever your heart desires. But this is my mixture that I love to use. And I just use Mod Podge because it's inexpensive and easy to use. Now this one, I know you're looking at it going, wow, that thing's nasty. Exactly. So if you have Mod Podge that you use for decoupaging or anything else that you use it for, besides grubbying things up, you're going to want a separate jug for just all those other things, and then a separate jug for your grubbying, because it's going to look like this. It's just gonna. So there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So it's really best to just have two separate ones. Okay, so, and then all I do is just, I have it in a tub here. It makes it a lot easier. Everything's mixed in Again, there's instant coffee, cinnamon, cloves, allspice, pumpkin spice, all the yummy smelling spices are in here. All really awesome. So that's all it took. Just a little bit of the Mod Podge wherever I wanted the spice mix to the grubby mix to stick, and then just sprinkle it on. Now you can let that dry a little bit, do another layer. You can do it chunky. You can, there's so many ways you can do it. You also can do the bulb if you want to. I think I got a little bit on the bulb of the mix. Some people like it on there, some people don't, because they say it like dims down the light a little bit. But you can just put a little bit on there and then just kind of sprinkle your mix on. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. I'm gonna go fold laundry or something. When I come back, I'll show you how I seal it in using the Mod Podge. You also could use clear Rust-Oleum spray. There's a few different things that you can use. But now that I've let that sit just a little bit, I'm gonna take some Mod Podge. Now you could do this right after you put your spices on. I like to let it dry just a little bit, and that way it makes it easier and doesn't cake up so much on your brush. But also, if you want a specific look, like you want a real grungy, like cakey look on it, you may want that to happen so that you get more in there. So I just kind of tamp it on, just kind of dab it in there, and I get the mix kind of damp with your Mod Podge. Then I'll go back in and lightly, gently brush, because you don't want it to puddle or pool in there because it takes so long to dry. That's done. Now we're gonna let that dry, and then we can put our little cloth wrap on there. Now because this is wax, this is not completely dry, but it's dry enough so I can touch it. If I accidentally touch it, it's not gonna hurt it. But because this is actual wax on the side of this candle, I'm going to use my Mod Podge mix. And I'm not even going to worry about using, this is my grubby mix Mod Podge. And I don't even care. Don't even care. Look at that. So we're going to, I want this to be in the front, this little dip here. So I want to make sure that I get my little tree. It doesn't really matter, but kind of want to get that right in the middle there. And I'm just going to kind of rub that in there. If I could use hot glue, but typically hot glue doesn't, it just melts the wax. It will work, but it's not the best. Now, luckily, Mod Podge dries clear, so any little bit that I get on there, it's okay. And you want to use, because this is cloth material and it's thick canvas material, you're going to want to use a lot of Mod Podge, like a good, nice, thick coat. Just a little bit's not going to do it. Okay. And that way, see it wrapped around and covered up that seam. Oh, that looks cool. I like the looks of that. And I like it with kind of the roughed up edges there. That looks good. I'm going to use some Dixie Dirt in the color Earth. So it's like a grayish brown color. It's a pigmented powder. And it comes in these little containers. So I put a little coat of Mod Podge over just this section. I don't know if you can see the difference. This is not done and this is done. Just a little section. I dried it a little bit with my heat gun. It's still a little bit, just a tad bit tacky. Now this is for like highlighting crevices and kind of giving you some shadowing, or it's also, you just take a little brush and it's just for adding a little bit more grunge or a grubby look to your pieces. So I thought over the top of this Mod Podge, it would be really cool to have a little bit of this powder kind of on the edges and on the top. So it kind of looks like the flame, like if there was an actual flame, it kind of left some soot maybe on that. It also just gives it a nice grubby look. A little bit goes a long way. You can also use this with wax, but it's pretty fun to use if you have something that's got crevices in it or something, and it, I don't know, it just makes it look, just enhances that shadow that you want. So see how much that just kind of dirties that up compared to that. I mean, this is because I put the, you know, I soaked it in the coffee, but this gives it even more of a kind of a grungy, grubby look. I just wanted to show you real quick what a difference between the two fabrics now. So this was the original, of course, and then this is the grubbied, and then Dixie Dirt and Mod Podge and Grubby Mix and all the things mixed in there. But what a difference. Makes it look nice and old and aged. Now what I'm going to do is take some twine and wrap that around, just kind of around the top to kind of break it up a little bit. And I'll probably grubby it up with some antique wax just to kind of match the look of my candle. Here I have a star, a nice thin star, would be great for hanging on the wall. It's a little scuffed up and dinged up, a little more than what I want, and I want to paint that anyways. First thing I want to do though, because I love this shape, is I'm going to make a template of it so that we can possibly do something similar later on. Now we have a template that we can use some other time. First thing I want to do before I get started, I want to paint the star, but first thing I want to do is take a battery taper candle that I'm going to be using on the star, and I'm going to rip out just a piece of this scrap linen, and I'm going to stick it in my grubby mix, my grubby coffee mix. And I'm going to put that in there and let that soak. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this. I'm going to give this a nice coat of black paint. This is the back side. So I'm going to start here, get a nice coat on there so it's just all nice and clean. I'll probably have to do 2 coats. While my star is drying, I just took out my fabric that I had soaking in my coffee grunge mixture, and I'm just rubbing in some of that spice mix, kind of giving it some dark spots on it, just flipping it over. And then I'm just going to take my heat gun and put it on here and dry it up a little bit. All right, I'm going to add some hot glue to the back of my candle here, and I'm just going to start wrapping. Now I'm going to keep it in the middle because I don't want to cover up. This is where you can change out your battery, turn it on and off. And then of course I don't want to cover up my light up here. I'm trying to get it a little more bulked up because what I'm going to put it in on my star, I'm going to need it to kind of help it stay in place. I'm also going to take some Dixie dirt and I'm going to brush it on. Just to give it more of an aged look as well. All right, and now I'm going to take some sandpaper and go around my edges and make them a little bit more distressed, kind of break up the paint a little bit. I'm also going to antique wax, and it will give that a nice aged look to kind of match my candle and the wrapping on there. I want it to make it all feel cohesive. Now the paint I'm using is just regular paint with no sealer in it. So if you want to add antique wax or dark wax to your piece, I suggest you clear wax first if you don't want it to be dark. It's also going to take some of the paint off, so you're going to want to seal it first if you don't want that to happen. I don't mind the extra darkness or some of the paint coming off. To me, it just adds to the patina. But I love the look of this onto black paint. And then when I sand back those edges, I love how it darkens up that wood underneath. So it gives it a nice look. So I'm just going to wipe that back. And as you can see, it's going to just leave a little bit of the wax on there to give it an aged look. Okay, while we're letting that dry, we're going to take this piece of rusty spring. It's just a broken piece of spring that was found right here on the property. And I have some rusty wire. And I want to make a bottom for this so that it will hold my candle inside and hold that from falling through. So I'm just going to wrap it around. And then I'm just going to wrap it so that it will kind of like a star form, I guess, or just crisscrossing it so that my candle can sit on that. Okay. We're going to keep this rusty wire handy because when our star is done, we're going to be able to kind of wire this to the back of it. So I'm just getting this placed in the middle where I think I want it to go. And I'm just going to make a little, hopefully I'll be able to see it, just a little mark above the wire and a little mark below the wire, so that this thick piece is going to sit right between the two holes. That's where I'm making little spots for. I'm going to put some holes there so I can feed my wire through so that I can hold this on with it. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to do one up and do one underneath. Okay. And then I'm just going to drill a couple holes. Now there were already holes in the top of this to hang it on the wall, and I had just taken the wire out because it was broken. So I'm just replacing the wire with some rusty wire to match the hanger. And I'm just going to twist it around so it'll stay. This wire is really easy to work with. I really like it. I'll put a link down in the description box if you're interested. I think I got it off from Amazon. There we go. So now it has a cool rusty hanger to match the rusty part down here. I'm going to add a few more embellishments. I'm going to add a safety pin with a rusty bell. The safety pin is not rusty, but we are going to give it kind of that look by just adding some antique wax. I need to rust up some more and I just haven't done it. But this works pretty good. At least takes shininess down so that it doesn't stand out too much. I also ripped off a piece of black and tan checked fabric that I want to just kind of stick up here. A little hot glue and just kind of off to the side. Just give it a little whimsy. And then I'm going to leave this long for the moment just to see what it looks like, fray it out. And then I have a little rusty star that I'm going to put in the middle of my little bow right there. So that's going to tie that all in together, all the rustiness together. And I think I'm going to leave the ties long, but there we go. Pull out a little bit. I kind of like it long. I'll just get rid of these little threads and we'll just leave it long for now. I hope you enjoyed my primitive projects today and you found some inspiration in some of them for your own projects. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and check out this video on your screen. I know you're going to love it.